What's up, guys? Fantart here to give my review of chapter 182 of 7 Deadly Sins. So real quick, guys, I just want to apologize ahead of time for that shitty reaction that I did to this chapter. By the time you see this, you've already seen it by now. It was just bad. Everyone's getting ready. My whole family's getting ready for 4th of July. It was really noisy. And I know I said at the end of that video that I wouldn't do a review, but it turns out I got some time before I head out and go party and have some food, great food. So real quick, I'm gonna do a review of 7 Deadly Sins. But I'm sorry. Before I do a review, this channel was originally supposed to be about manga, anime, and sports. So tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a UFC 200 predictions video, hopefully with my brother. And then for anyone who's a fan of basketball, any of you guys hear about that Kevin Durant going to Golden State Warriors? You want to talk about OP teams? That's going to be an OP team. We're talking about superstar team again, like the Miami Heat a couple years back. So anyway, we start off this chapter with great chapter, by the way. We got a lot of information, some more backstory into Meliodas' history and the 7 deadly sins of himself. So it progressed the plot pretty good because now we have more information on what the purpose of what the 7 deadly sins was originally meant for. What were they created for in the first place? But the chapter starts off with Meliodas coming out with baby Elizabeth, and it shows how he met her and how their paths intertwined. And it's kind of funny because he tells Zarathras, this is the first time he's meeting him, "Oh, don't you touch her. Get your hands off my woman." And I'm like, that's a baby. That's a baby. That's a baby. I'm going to stop talking about that right there. So, with this chapter being called Unconditional Warmth, it feels like this chapter really does represent unconditional love between Meliodas and Elizabeth. You know, he kind of like helped raise her. She was really close to him as a little child. And he just treats her like a child. He gives her all the love in the world. And then when she gets older, you know, that stuff happens. Of him, you know, being there for her emotionally, mentally, kind of like a lover's sense. So it really does give the definition of love in every sense of the way that you could think of. Love. Everywhere. Like, not just platonic love, romantic love. It feels like the real dynamic of love with him and Elizabeth. So I thought that was cute with him and the shots of young baby Elizabeth and how she was raising her with the backstory of them. And it was cute, you know, it's takes some time to get used to, but it's cute. So what else it shows in the memories is him meeting Zarathras for the first time and how he had gotten hired to be a holy knight. He basically beat the crap out of Zarathras, and he showed that he was worthy of becoming a holy knight. So what's interesting is that the king actually predicted that the 7 deadly sins would be the guardians of the kingdom in the future. You know, he gets visions. He doesn't control them. So them being based on his visions, they were able to know who the 7 deadly sins were, and they were able to round them up. They were all based on getting them for a vision. And so here's the funny part was that even back then, during this time period, Meliodas mentioned to Zarathras, oh yes, the 7 deadly sins will defeat the 10 commandments. So back then, he already knew that they were going to come. He knew that the 7 deadly sins were going to invade the land, the world. They were going to try and take over, and so that was the purpose of the 7 deadly sins. And then at the time, Zarathras didn't know that. So now we knew what the purpose of what the 7 deadly sins were. Why were they brought together? But here's my question. If that's the case, why didn't he mention this to the 7 deadly sins in the first place? I think it would have been a lot helpful if he had given the rest of his comrades, his teammates, a heads up, right? He gave us some training, given some thought process, or like some battle strategy on these guys' on these 10 commandments and their powers. That would have been really helpful. Did he not say it because of him not wanting to reveal what he really is or who he really is? See, and if you do that, it makes makes the battle seem a lot more even, because right now it's kind of one-sided right now with the 10 commandments taking over, and Meliodas was the only one who was. You know, that's the funny thing is that Meliodas wasn't even technically prepared for their power, because he had to go and revive his own power and get prepared for himself. You know, I think it would have made much more sense if they had better preparatory time, and Meliodas would be able to build himself up to be able to deal with this power, because remember in the past he wasn't able to deal with his power. It was all just like going ham and being evil. I'm like, if you knew that they were coming, I thought your preparatory should have been a lot better. So that's one thing that kind of like feels a little plot holish, but maybe it won't be, because he might reveal why he wasn't able to talk about it before, because now we get some more information on Meliodas. Okay, so apparently Meliodas is cursed. He mentions to Zarathustra while he's drunk that he's tried to kill himself many times. He's tried different ways. And that he reveals that he's over 3,000 years old, and that the curse won't allow him to die, a la Zareth. But this time, he's kind of on the different side. See, there's some similarities between Seven Deadly Sins and Fairy Tale. Whether you think which one's better, it's up to you. But it feels a lot like Zareth-ish. You know, that's the first person who I thought when he said curse. So apparently, he can't die. He's kind of like immortal. But so is he apparently he's in a coma right now because he lost all his hearts, but he's still there. So that's like really relief for me, because now we're able to kind of build up on bringing back Meliodas without it feeling as foolish. You know, I'm glad that they're going that route. And so towards the end of the flashback, it shows him talking to little Elizabeth, and he tells her, gives her a promise, "Oh, I'll always come back to you no matter what, in any form." And so after that flashback ends, Elizabeth is comforted by that, and she feels and she knows that Meliodas will come back to her eventually. And so she's a lot more relieved now, thanks to this flashback. Now, here's where the big part comes. We see Meliodas, the real Meliodas, towards the end of this chapter, and he's stuck in purgatory. So, and he's talking to someone. He's like, "Oh, we have all the time in the world. What would you like to chat about, Meliodas?" Or like, "Oh, do you have any thoughts and opinions on this world or purgatory? Let's talk forever." And Meliodas is like, "Fuck that, I'm getting out of here." So Meliodas is alive, definitely, and he's alive in purgatory. He's in, you know, purgatory in between heaven and hell, the middle ground. He's gonna try and figure his way to get out of that. See, here's what I thought was really interesting, is that Zarathustra brings up the fact that he's 3,000 years old. That none of the other races can live that long, not even a demon. So I'm thinking, what is this guy? Is he, in fact, a demon? Now I'm questioning that. Did the curse make him a demon? What was he originally? That's one thing that I'm really wondering now. What is this guy? Because apparently demons can't live that long either, according to Zarathustra. So maybe he's just drunk out of his mind and he wasn't thinking too good. And maybe he just is a demon. But I'm really interested. Is there another race out there that Meliodas is that we haven't been revealed? That's what I'm wondering. As far as ratings go, I'm going to give this chapter a 4.5 out of 5 stars. We got a lot of good information, good plot development, good backstory, but there is some kind of like plot holish things that I'm kind of questioning about him knowing about the 10 Commandments. Maybe it can get fixed in the next couple of chapters. Really excited for the next chapter. Again, sorry about the crappy live reaction. My battery's about to die. Fantart out.